Yo, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. We got another episode of the podcast here, obviously, because you clicked on it. I'm with one of my favorite artists currently, Angel. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that last name.
Oh, you don't know how to pronounce it. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm just bad at pronouncing shit in general, so I'm gonna just skip it for now and wait till I hear it from you.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. This is fun.
Oh fuck, Marcloid.
No, it's okay. It's how it's spelled. It's just
Marcloid.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that works.
Okay, word.
It's a mystery which syllable gets the accent, but
Like I like read shit so quickly anymore, and like your name is just like such a like a rock star name, kind of like Angel, and so I'm just like it's probably some word I'm gonna get wrong, so I just like disregard it. Like yeah, Angel, Mindspring, Fire-Toolz, all that shit. Honestly, like you have been the person to make me be like, okay, I'm gonna maybe try this genre out of whatever the fuck this is. Like such it's huge props to you. Like this is super cool talking to you, like verbally.
yeah.
Yeah, because your shit's just so wow, dude. I hope that's okay. But like shit, Mindspring Memories, mainly Gateway 2000, was such a like eye opener moment. That was like me hearing Boards of Canada for the first time. Honestly, that was such a clean sound you got there. And yeah, I just gotta say thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you.
How long have you been like wanting to dive into this like internet pocket genre? Like I know like first Mindspring release is like 2014 or some shit. Was
Sounds about right.
yeah, was that like was it kind of just like, oh, I found vaporwave and I'm gonna try writing it, kind of like me a little bit, or were you just in the scene for a while and then dove into it? Because you have a hell of a background of music and shit too. Like it's obvious, obviously you weren't an electronic person uh, your whole life. Like you got the shredding skills and whatnot, you know.
Yeah. I think that I moved to Chicago in late 2012 and C-punk was happening.
Yes.
And some of the I don't know if they're really the originators, but perpetuators of C-punk movement lived there, and I discovered like the net art aesthetic or whatever. And there's also this group called the Drum, which aren't super well known, but they were kind of like doing the C-punk thing, sort of, but also kind of doing a like new agey or glitchy kind of electronic music, but it was very C-punk adjacent. And the the person that I moved to Chicago to live with was like affiliated with a lot of those people or knew those people. So I was kind of exposed to C-punk, and vaporwave was very adjacent to that. And I think it was I heard a few artists, and then when I found Telepath, I was just so blown away by it, and it resonated with me so hard because a lot of the music that Telepath was sampling from was music that I remember hearing when I was a child. A lot of Telepath's early stuff was made from samples. I'm pretty sure that he ripped from Weather Channel forecasts, VHS rips that were on YouTube. And I remember those songs. I remember hearing them when I would have the Weather Channel on in the background. I was always like really interested in weather and like storm chasing videos, and like I just loved snow and rain and wind. I don't know. It's kind of funny to talk about, but so I watched the Weather Channel a lot,
That's really
and I would
interesting.
hear that music. And so yeah, when I heard Telepath's renditions of that stuff, it was really I can't describe the way it made me feel. So I attempted making my own stuff kind of in the same vein a few times, and then kind of gave up and tried again and then gave up, and then one day I busted out that first album, or 1 week really, and yeah, I was hooked. It's really all about Telepath, honestly.
And that's fucking sick. Like, I feel like most people have that one artist that's like, holy fuck, like I'm gonna dive into a million artists now just because like that one like pinpoint has been broken, and you're like vaporwave or like internet music, like this isn't just like butt rock on the radio type shit or electronic music or dub or whatever. This is like it's just so its own channel, and
Yeah, it
yeah,
really, really was. And I was into experimental type music for a while before that. I was really into the idea of sampling from tapes and VHSs and like sort of manipulating that and using that in my own music. So I wasn't totally a stranger to the idea of sample based music, but it was really about the emotional resonance. And a lot of people get into vaporwave who like weren't like growing up when the songs that get sampled were like playing on the radio, so they're coming at it from a different angle, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it was like I instantly felt like a child again, and the way that the samples were processed like worked so well because it was almost like you're looking back at those memories, like, and they're kind of blurry and fuzzy now, and you have this like really emotional, it's like kind of some sadness and some nostalgia and some like you wishing for the innocence that you felt back then and everything. So it's like the way like Telepath would process these samples represented that like wistful nostalgia.
like I
um
was just thinking about this the other day. Like I think about this all the fucking time of like, is that the sound that almost all people resonate with as memory or like the past or like
yeah,
like that just echoey or like filtery, whatever
yeah, it's
one of the five
yeah,
elements of vaporwave, is like,
yeah.
yeah, it's just like,
And I think
yeah,
that the just the way that like familiar samples or even stuff that you haven't heard before but it sounds like you did, like the way it sounds like slowed and pitched down, at least for me, just represents memories in the past
absolutely.
for some
It's
reason.
almost like the auditorial representation of like those DMT images where it's like
Yeah,
it looks like
I
a million
agree.
things, and like
Yeah.
anyone can look at that and be like, that's a frog, or like that, no, that's a bird, and like, but it's all of them. But like, yeah, that's exactly like no matter who I show vaporwave, whether it be like my mom or like my friends that are actually into this shit, they're like, yeah, it's just got the sound of nostalgia. I don't know why. Is like I think about like why though. Like, does TV shows and like movies like give us that in our head, like in our subconscious of like anytime it's like a memory or it's in the past, it's like this foggy, blurry like mesh of like it's
Hmm.
not all there, but like I know what's happening at the same time. It's just so subconscious.
I would be interested in some kind of peer-reviewed study on the psychology of vaporwave. But one really big factor, though, is like age. Because if you're like a teenager or you're in your early 20s, I don't think it's the same
Yeah, like I
because you
definitely.
didn't like live through the period that's being channeled. And I'm not, yeah, again, I'm not saying that's bad. It's just like it's got to be different.
I think about that shit too. Like the people that have never experienced a VHS, like of like,
Yeah.
oh, let me get my Brave Little Toaster VHS and put that shit in. Oh, I gotta rewind it, and like, just like having it be part of normality. Like that's completely gone. Like, do they get a sense of ooh vibes when they see a
Well,
fucking
I think
thing?
they do, and that's the interesting thing. I think they do, and I think that they still feel some kind of nostalgia or like weird familiarity, even though they didn't live through it. And it could be because they're just like they're familiar with '80s music and they like know that that stuff is older, but it also might just be the way it's processed and the way it sounds like slowed down. Like any music slowed down, even if it's music that just came out. When you slow it down and like kick it with reverb,
It's got
it
that.
seems to just invoke that
Like
feeling
I
for
can't tell you how many fucking times I heard that stupid song Heat Waves, but then like you watch one TikTok with it like sometimes all I think about is, and you're like, yo, this kind of hits.
yeah. Yeah, it makes you just want to like light up
You're like,
instantly.
damn, remember last week?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
actually that's true. It can make you sampling newer music that's already come out. It and processing it in that way can it probably causes you to think back to another time because we always look back on the past, not necessarily with like rose-colored glasses, but just like as a more innocent time in some way, even if it was last week. I can relate to that for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in today's days, Jesus fucking Christ, everything happens.
Yeah, I know. Everything is moving so fast, and every year that goes by, we're just like, God, like there's people that just wish they could get back to the first year of the pandemic because of how much better it seemed to be
Yeah, like
than this
exactly.
one.
People are getting nostalgic for 2017 now. Like, remember when none of this happened, or like I just don't.
I'm frankly really nostalgic for like the first like 6 months of the pandemic.
Very much
I
so.
hate to say there is something about the way my life was at the time that I wouldn't have told you this at the time, but I look back and I was like, I felt so much more comfortable back then. I felt like there was so much less to worry about back then. And it's probably not true. It's just something about the way our brains probably work that makes us think that.
That's so interesting that you bring that up because I haven't heard anyone say that other than you mentioning right now, but I very much felt that way the entire time. I was having a great fucking time the first bit of the pandemic. Like I was getting like unemployment because I like my job
Yep.
was cut off like halfway, so I was getting partial unemployment and still working a little
All
bit.
the live streams.
All the live streams, right?
Everybody got really cozy, like way more cozy into social media. Like all this stuff was happening online to help us feel like we were connected still.
It feels like all of
And
those
for
artists
me,
just upgraded their shit. Yeah.
yeah. And for me, it felt really comfortable because I experienced like an enormous amount of social anxiety. So being able to be connected with people behind a computer screen in a way was really enjoyable because I felt safe. I was in my own home. I was in my pajamas with my homemade cup of coffee and my cats on my lap. Yet I was at a show. And it's obviously not the same. It really isn't. There's lots of elements that are not there that could potentially cause someone to perceive it as the
I mean,
experience
just
being
light
ruined.
just light a
but-
cigarette that you're not gonna smoke. Put it in the corner of the room and blast the music until you're uncomfortable. And you're like, there I am. I'm at a live set. There you go.
Yeah, I'm still stuck in that mode. I'm still in a mode right now where I want to go to a live show on Twitch, but I don't know if I want to step in a venue.
I'm kind of the same way. Like literally the other day, I got not the other day, a couple months ago, but like I got invited to some show that was down the street here in Philly. And I got there and I remembered it was like, oh, cash only. All right, let's go to the bar next door and hang out for a minute. And like we're hanging out at the bar that's kind of empty. And I just hear a fucking crazy, like not crazy, but it's like packed. Like people are over there. And I'm just like, maybe we just go home after this. Like maybe we don't.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Get cozy on the couch, watch some YouTube or Netflix or something. That's the life right there.
And I say this all like that's one of the best things you can say, like while tripping or while anything. Just you know what, we should leave. Like I just think that's like the best. What a good sentence. Like you can just ditch all this. Oh, great, fantastic.
Yeah, that feels good. Yeah. I'm sure other people are cringing at this, but feels good to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't give a fuck. Like I'm still very cautious about everything. Like people invite me to their shows, and I'm still like, I don't know, man. Like I'm just still worried about shit, and like the pandemic just made me a totally different person. Like I used to be a show going dude. Like you'd see me at the basement shows with a tall boy, and
Yep.
I just can't do it anymore. I'm way older now, but like
Yeah.
yeah, that's like
We
the big.
aged like 20
That's like the
years.
big thing. Like I feel like it hasn't been just like a few years, and I'm out of college and shit. Like even if I was still playing in a band, that would be like getting asked to do those basement shows. I don't think I fucking could, because it's like, look at these 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and I don't want to do this. Like I want to go to a show where I play and see nobody, and then I go home. Like if there's a crowd, great. Like I don't like that partiness anymore. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
oh, I
hard.
definitely don't. I haven't really been into that for a long time. I kind of wish that shows happened earlier in the night. And
That's a huge thing too. It's like, oh yeah, music at 10:30, and it's a 4-band bill or some shit. It's like,
yeah,
what?
I really don't like that at all.
Yeah.
And Chicago is notorious for that. There are shows that like start at 11 and I'm just like, what the
I
fuck?
think that's just DIY in general, man. Like it's just how it is. Like anywhere, like any place that has this. uh well, it's no big punk time. That's it. That's what I couldn't think
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, punk time is my least favorite time. I like sticking to a schedule.
Yeah, punk
It's much
time
more comfortable.
is right up there with drug dealer time. Like it's not the same. I'm on the way. It's
Yeah.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But fuck, that's crazy. Well, I've been saying this for a minute now. Like, I can't wait until there's VR basement shows.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Like, I'm gonna do that thing. I'm gonna do the whole light a cigarette, put it in the corner of the
Yeah.
room, because that will make me feel like I'm there. Like, I'd be cool with that if it was like a screen where like the players would be, and then it's just like a video feed of the performers. That'd be kind of sick, honestly. I would go to that.
I think we're kind of deranged. Like, I agree with you, but there's something wrong with this to where we're just like really excited about like the least personable thing. All of this like fake virtual stuff versus organic, natural things and like being in people's presence and connecting like on a deeper level. I think that we're just both really anxious.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, like, that's why I feel like we're diving into this a bit more than normal, because, like, I don't find a lot of people that feel the same way, and I feel like it's normal to always be like, yeah, like, I can't wait to see my buds and stuff. Like, we're just kind of relishing in the moment of anxiety, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think that it's not just anxiety, but it's like in finding comfort in that condition and finding ways to connect and enjoy the things that we love in a way that feels safer to us. And that's why I even brought up like nostalgia for the beginning of the pandemic, because before that I was less and less and less interested in going to shows and playing shows. I was constantly turning down invites to play shows. I really wasn't a social person. I would come home from work and stay home all night and honestly have a great fucking time staying home. And so when the pandemic hit, it was just, I felt less guilty about doing that all the time.
That's a really good way to put it. Like, it was, I kind of laughed because it was like everyone's like losing their fucking minds, like staying at home. And I'm like, this is a vacation for me. Like, this is it right here.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. I don't feel guilty to just like be a little gremlin and just like do what I want on my
Yeah.
computer and just work and like not really
Yeah.
interact with people IRL, you know?
Every time I saw people losing their shit over not being able to go out every night anymore, I would kind of stop myself and be like, you just aren't the same as those people and don't have the same needs. Like, I would have this minute of like, wow, you really like need help if you're that like neurotic and like absolutely need to be around a ton of people all the time and can't be by yourself and can't be silent and can't be calm. And then I would like second guess that and be like, you're just not like that. You don't need all of that social interaction and all that activity to feel alive. And some people do, and that's just kind of how they're built or how they're raised to be or whatever it is. So I try to have compassion for those people that feel like they're suffering when they can't be like near their people. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I don't need that as much. I do really need deep personal connection. I just don't want to have a ton of it at 11 o'clock at night at a bar where people are like running around and I'm feeling like shy and intimidated and left out and I just want to go home. Like I'd rather have one or two of my closest friends like come over to watch YouTube videos with me.
That sounds like the best fucking night right there. Just a few
Yeah.
friends over watching YouTube. Like,
Yep.
couldn't agree with. If anything, I think the whole pandemic, like, not to make this pandemic podcast, but whatever.
Well, it is so far. It seems 20 minutes now.
Whatever. But like, I feels like if anything, like people that were more shy, like got comfortable with like the whole, oh wow, social media people are upgrading everything, there's online shows and stuff. You know what, I'm gonna be more shy, I'm just gonna keep to myself even more, like even when this shit gets over with, like I'm gonna keep this. And the other people that were like itching to get out there are pretty much out there every night now. I feel like as
Yeah,
much
they
as
are.
possible they're now out there because it's just like, oh, I can get a breath of fresh air now. I can get a drink at a bar.
I can get a breath of fresh COVID now.
Yep. I can take off my mask. The mask.
No, I don't really think you can take it off, but that's what everybody does, and I'm just gonna shut my mouth now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep doing what I do, like with wearing the mask, and like if people get uncomfortable with it, that's ridiculous. Like I feel like I'm waiting for that argument when someone's like, "Why are you wearing that still?" It's like, "Cause I don't want you to see my goatee." Like I don't know. Like,
Yeah, that's why, because I have a bunch of piercings, and I don't want to get beat up by some jock.
or some shit. Like exactly. There you go. Or like I don't.
Or it's cold out, and I don't have a scarf.
Or like I want to mouth "fuck you" to every person I pass, but I can't do that with a mask, or I'll get some eyes looking at me. Like I don't. I'm weird with a mask on now. I'm doing like picking out like laundry detergent and just like, which one?
Yeah,
Like,
it's really uncomfortable. My glasses fog up like constantly. It's really annoying to deal with the glasses fogging up.
Oh yeah, like when I'm at my job, like running around, like it's like really hard
Yeah.
to get that shit figured out. Anyway, all right, let's keep this shit going. I wanted to ask, how did the whole, like, let's go back even further. We talked about your move in 2012. What was like the birth of music making for you? Like, I can remember back and be like hearing like the music in Salad Fingers made me be like, you can fucking do that, and that's a song. I'm gonna start doing that. That's so fucking interesting. And so I had like bought a Korg and just started fucking around. It was making interludes to interludes, and it sounded like shit for years. And I just loved that process though, like of making a sound and like have it just be something totally you've never fucking heard it before. Like when people press play, they'd be like, this is weird, Paul. Why did you make this? And why are you showing me this? Like what was kind of those like birthing moments of music creation for you?
I can't ever remember not being immersed in music making. My earliest memories of being alive, I had access to uh, household objects and wooden spoons. So I've just been playing music, making music, enjoying music since day one. My parents aren't musicians, but they were definitely music lovers and listened to it all the time. So I was just kind of like born into it. I think my parents noticed I had some rhythm at an early age when I was just like beating on stuff. So they were like, maybe we should get like a toy drum kit and like a cheap acoustic guitar or something. And it just kind of went from there. I learned how to use a cassette recorder and would just record myself playing, and it went from there. I can't remember a moment where I was like, oh, I want to make music. It was just, it's always been what I've done and wanted to do.
That's awesome. That's so fucking cool. I wish I started that young. And honestly, whenever I hear stuff like that, I'm like, that makes sense. After listening to like some of your recent shit, I'm like, yeah, that's some fucking impressive shit. Like you gotta start from a baby, I feel, to write some of this stuff. It's very so interesting stuff and really, really fucking awesome. Like, when was the first stuff you put out? I bet it wasn't Mindspring Memories, was it?
Oh God, no. I mean, when I was, crap. I don't know if I'm gonna get this right, but when I was like maybe 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, somewhere in there, um, I recorded an album with a 4-track cassette recorder and like made a bunch of copies, and like my family gave them out to family friends and stuff. It was all just I recorded drums, bass, and 2 guitar parts, but the bass parts were guitar through an octave pedal because I didn't have a bass at the moment. And they were just kind of like really bad kind of rock songs with a little touch of punk, I guess, to it, because I was probably listening to a lot of Green Day at the time. But I was raised on like prog and like arena rock and stuff like that. So
Fucking
that was
same.
probably the first thing I technically put out. But then
What kind of prog?
when I
if
got
you don't
into
mind me
my
asking?
like, oh, well, Rush was like the big thing, which they're not necessarily just like straight up prog by any means,
Yeah,
but
they
they definitely had that influence.
any band
My
that
parents
runs
weren't
as
really.
long as Rush will dive into a few poppier albums, I feel.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I wouldn't say my parents were like hardcore like prog nuts, like all of that like weird obscure 70s prog and stuff that wasn't really present in my family, but I would say it was mostly like hard rock, arena rock stuff. Like some of my earliest favorite bands were like Rat and like Cinderella and you know, anything with big long hair. Winger was a big thing. My parents didn't like Poison, but like stuff like that was big in the family. And I guess my mom liked stuff like Elton John and the Beatles too, but that wasn't really prevalent. It was mostly about rock and roll for sure as I was growing up.
Yeah, my dad fucking loved Genesis and Yes and all that stuff. And
Yeah, there was Genesis and Yes in my family.
word.
Not as much as Rush, but definitely
I feel like
those things.
you pick one, and that's who you really fucking dive into.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Rush fandom was strong.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like Rush fans are very tight knit.
They're a certain breed.
Yeah, definitely.
They feel like my people.
They're right up there with like Megadeth people, I feel. It's like very close to the same type of people.
Yeah, and then Megadeth was big in my family too. Metallica also. Well, I don't know. Metallica was a little bit heavy for my parents at times. It was kind of an occasional thing until the Black Album came out, and then Metallica was really embraced at that point.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, Master of Puppets and stuff was a little bit probably too much for my family.
Wait,
I loved it though.
Is Load back there too?
Load is after the Black Album.
Oh, okay.
So that's when they were like extremely radio friendly and writing kind of like pop hard rock songs at that point. I actually didn't really like Load. I haven't really liked Metallica very much at all since Load came out. I'm a Black Album and before Metallica fan.
I don't know. There's a couple. I listened to it growing up. It's been so fucking long since I dove back into Metallica. But there is a really cool interview or whatever the fuck on YouTube.
Yeah, Some Kind of Monster.
Is that it? Well, where they talk about the Enter Sandman and like making that like a pop song for metal, basically.
They might have talked about that in that documentary. I'm sure there's a lot of Metallica documentaries out there. That's like their kind of famous one. That's really. It's honestly kind of, I feel bad that it was released because there's a lot of stuff on there that's really embarrassing for them, I feel like. But you know how
like
third party documentary teams will document something and then put whatever slant on it they want.
Oh, like what?
I don't know. It just kind of exposed some of the drama in the band, and I feel like it made them out to look like now they were just void of all good ideas, and they were kind of just like lame old heads who like just write like stupid, like dumb new metal guitar riffs and think that they're like the best thing they've ever written. And it's kind of true, because I just think that everything they've made since the Black Album has just been far less creative and compelling to me.
Definitely.
Not because they're not that heavy anymore, or that they're less heavy. That's not why. It's just like, I don't know. All the riffs are boring now.
It just feels streamlined.
They're just all boring.
It feels streamlined.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they had gongs and shit in the Black Album, you know? Like, right?
Yeah.
Like there had weird shit going on in there. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just my taste though. I mean, bands will always evolve, and if they're a lot of bands want to keep up with the times and some of the trends, and I really respect that because they want to maintain their careers.
Yeah, that's kind of how I
can't
feel.
imagine doing that though.
That's kind of how I feel about like Death Cab for Cutie. Like I used to love that fucking band.
Oh my God, yes. I'm a absolutely huge pre-Plans Death Cab fan.
Wow. You don't fuck with Plans.
Plans is okay. Plans is when it started to go a little off track for me. And since then, I have not been a fan, really.
I see.
I think that we have the
like
facts and we're voting yes as their absolute best album. And the photo album was good too. And everything before that's amazing, I think. But yeah.
The blue one, I can't remember the name of.
I probably don't even know.
It's got like the boat on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the blue one. Okay, something about airplanes.
Yeah, something about
it?
airplanes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That like all that shit was so fucking good. But like I feel like Plans and Narrow Stairs was like that bell curve tip, and then it started to go bad after that.
I was so off put by Narrow Stairs. I was like, what the fuck happened?
Like that was my like how you said, like bands progress and whatnot, and I was like, okay. And granted, like Plans is where I jumped in. I didn't know what the fucking band ever sounded like. I heard the name and was like
yeah, that name is sick.
But like growing up, I was such like a metal snob that was like, that sounds lame. And so, but then I heard it on the radio and I'm like, that's Death Cab for Cutie. I'm downloading the discography tonight. And like, I thought Plans was so beautiful because I only heard the last 3 songs on it. Like, I didn't even hear the pop songs. And I was like, this is so fucking beautiful. Like, the production on this makes me want to like rethink how songs are made sometimes because like they just had so many cool textures. Like at the end of What Sarah Said, they like slam like the piano strings a bunch and it's got like this beautiful just shimmery white noise texture that's just
I think it is a really beautiful album. That's definitely a word that could be used with it. It's not even that it's not good. I actually like Plans. It's just that they stopped sounding like the emo-tinged indie rock band that I wanted them to be.
That's what I mean.
That's when they started. And I love like huge production and modern production a lot. I really do. But hearing Death Cab go that path, I was just like, I don't know, a little bummed. I just wanted We Have the Facts. I just wanted that forever.
That was like I learned a couple songs. That was like my like learning guitar album.
Yeah, that's a great learning guitar album.
Such a fucking great album of like how to sing and play too, and like you got to have that Ben Gibbard fucking sway back and forth if you want to do it right. Like
yeah, lots of really really cool arpeggiated dissonant chords on that album. Interesting chords.
Totally, like it's like that beautiful blend of like twinkle emo and like like lame indie music. It's like that just like,
exactly. No, I know. That's exactly why I love it so much.
Yeah, perfect.
I miss it, and I actually talked to their former guitarist who hasn't been in the band for that long.
Chris Walla?
He's actually. Yeah, Chris Walla. He's actually, okay, this is crazy, but he's a Fire-Toolz fan. And I found that out because what was it? No, he started commenting on some of my posts on Twitter, like here and there. What? And I was just like, I don't know who this person is. And I clicked on his profile and it's just like Death Cab, and I'm just like what in the living fuck?
You know, he like produced
So I
all
like
those
DM
albums, right?
him. Well, he is a producer. I'm not sure what his credits are exactly, but yeah, you could be right.
He at least did all that interesting shit on Plans, and I think a few records before that
Wow.
as well.
Okay.
Like and that's when he left, is because they got signed to Warner Brothers, and I don't know this for a fact, but I could read it like a fucking book. Like they got signed to Warner Brothers, and we're like, okay, Chris, you can't produce it anymore. We got to get this guy from Warner Brothers to do it, and he's like,
Yeah.
fuck this, I'm out of here. Like,
Yeah, maybe so.
I feel like that's exactly how it went. Because listen to them now; they sound terrible. It's like, this is Death Cab for Cutie.
I hope they're happy. That's all.
That's where I'm
That's
at. I'm like, they're on the radio. They're making their paychecks. I just don't be a fucking abuser at the end of the day or something, you know?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
That's all I'm like, just be a good person. And like, same to you, Tom DeLonge. Like, just no one be a bad person. Just be lost in time, and that's it. Like,
I need everybody to look past or look back at their lyrics that they wrote 10 years ago and 20 years ago and go, wow, I wish I wouldn't have written that. That was very short-sighted and misogynistic and slightly racist. I'm a better person now. That's what everybody needs to do.
oh my fucking God. I think about this shit a lot of like listening to like Death Cab albums and other things like that. I'm like, did Ben have like a different chick like every week?
I know. That's how he wrote.
Oh my fucking God. Like, there's got to be someone.
I mean, sometimes people are just telling stories. You know whose lyrics are really incriminating, I feel like, is Cursive and Tim Kasher. Like, some of his relationship-oriented lyrics from years ago are very alarming. And I am just hoping that he looks back at some of those and has a little remorse. I'm hoping. They're not like straight up misogynistic, but they kind of are. The way that any like emo dude's lyrics would be at that time.
That's why I'm kind of holding
including
on.
my own.
I mean, that's why I'm holding on to Algernon, because I'm like, they're talking about frogs and shit. Like,
yeah, they were a little bit later.
Yeah.
I would think that their lyrics are probably a bit safer.
1,000,000%. Like, it's all about like getting hit in the face with fishes and stuff, you know, like, and when I actually do look,
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's stupid, it's dumb, it's like no sense, nonsense lyrics, and that's cool. Like Lockamora, that's another one where it's like like debatable. It's like, this sounds like it could be problematic, but fuck, does it rock? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
But oh my God, like that's so fucking funny. Like, at least someone finally gets my, damn, is Ben a player or what? Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, like they wrote about a lot of different things. Like the one song, I intentionally wrote it out to be an illegible mess. Like, that's just a fuck you to whoever you're writing that song for.
Yeah, that's really cool. My friend Ben Levin makes music and lyrics like that. He writes a lot of stream of consciousness, like seemingly nonsense lyrics, and they're sung in such a passionate way, and it sounds serious, and I think he kind of makes it serious, and I think meanings erupt out of it the more you hear it. But really, he's just kind of having fun.
Speaking of passionate singing, like on the new Fire-Toolz stuff, like, I gotta say, what a fucking head turner on some of those songs where you're singing, and like, because I love your screams. Like, your screams make me want to turn it up and make everyone be like, what are you doing? What is that? Because it's just so like, oh, this is so, like, you can't get this fucking anywhere else. And you're doing some like actual singing on the new album, and even on I Can't Die. Like, what was your thought process? Like, was that like some of the first vocals for Fire-Toolz that wasn't like screaming, distorted? Like, it sounds so fucking good. Like, are we gonna get an all singing album eventually or something like that?
I mean, on my second Fire-Toolz album from 2017, there was a little bit of singing and like one, I think, two songs, and a little bit here and there all throughout, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe Rainbow Bridge didn't have any. I can't even remember. But
It was a lot of
I don't
screams.
know.
I think maybe a one or two like vocally things were in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Skinless X1 had a couple sung lines, but they were mixed like really quietly and kind of intended to be textures rather than lead lines. But I don't know. I've always been a singer too, and sometimes I just want to sing. Um, Sometimes I do something a lot, and I just think to myself, I want to do something different for this song. I don't really know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, I have pretty much an entire new album made right now that I need to master and turn in next month, and they're singing on, I don't know, probably like 3 or 4 songs, maybe 5, but plenty of screaming too. I'm not necessarily going more in that direction. I'm kind of just doing whatever I want to do.
Yeah, it just feels like you're getting more comfortable to really just lay it all out there no matter what, you know? Like you're not trying to be anything at this point, obviously.
No, I'm never trying to be anything. I just make what I want to hear, make what I want to make.
Yeah, like I gotta say, like, what the fuck kind of process is a Fire-Toolz song? Like, it's just so chaotic. Like, do you start from front to back, or do you have like a kind of idea? I'm sure
There's no rules.
no rules.
I don't really ever have many ideas. Just kind of open the DAW and just screw around until something happens, and then I build off of it, and I keep building and building, and then eventually it seems like the song's done.
Do you feel like you get to a point where it's like 2/3, and you're like, okay, I need a completely different chunk, and then just kind of glue a third part
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, sure.
Because it
Yeah.
feels like, you know, most songs are like these nice flags, I guess you could say, just one color across, and yours are like this mix max like piece of business, and you glue another piece of business to it and another piece, and it's just this 4-dimensional image. It's really fucking out there. And yeah, man, like, are you drums first, then guitar, would you say?
No, it's all over the place. It could be anything first. I mean, it's never like vocals first or anything. Sometimes I start making a beat. Sometimes I start with writing synth parts. Guitar is rarely first if the guitars are like lead lines. Sometimes guitar's first if it's the dominant like part of the song.
Rhythm type shit. Because I feel like it's more
yeah,
so
it's-
of like you twinkle shred in a weird way. Like you just kind of
Yeah,
accent it.
I'm very influenced by sensual 80s guitar solos.
Absolutely.
Like arena rock ballads and stuff. Like arena rock ballads are my thing. Like all of like Winger's ballads are like some of my favorite music ever made.
Like I just picture like, yeah, like it goes from so many things. Like when I was listening through Rainbow Bridge, it was like some fucking N64 game, then to like some cool internet version of that N64 game, then just boom, here's some 80s cop show in the midst of it, and then boom, back to that
Yeah.
shit mixed with the 80s cop show, and then there's screaming, and now it grooves, and you're like that's
Yeah, I
me
don't
trying
know.
to explain your shit to people.
No, that makes sense. People compare it to video game music a lot, and I think that makes sense, although that's never my intention. I do like gaming soundtracks a lot, and I've never been much of a gamer beyond like Super Mario, Super Metroid when I was like a kid. But see, the thing is, the reason why people hear video game music is because a lot of the music I listen to, 80s electronic music that is really steeped in jazz fusion and new age music, that's kind of what old gaming soundtracks were anyway. There was so much jazz fusion in 80s gaming soundtracks. Like jazz being a part of popular music was so much more normal back then.
Absolutely. Like, and
So-
they could say that's even a precursor for a lot of hip hop things today, because people,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
So like I listen to like bands like Software and Megabyte and just old electronic stuff like that, and that sounds kind of like gaming music a lot of times. But I'm not intentionally trying to like channel N64 music at all. It's just that's what people associate it with because they're more familiar with gaming soundtracks than some of these weird 80s artists, I guess.
That kind of makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I wanted to ask a quick question about non-local forecast. Is it's like just another project of yours, right?
Yeah, basically. You could say it's some of the things that Fire-Toolz offers, but like separated and expanded upon, I guess. I mean, I'm really into jazz fusion and new age music and prog, and I wanted to do something that sounded safe, that wasn't prone to turning a corner at any moment and coming up against something abrasive. It kind of it people try to use the Weather Channel music to compare it to, which I don't really agree with, but it's like similar in the sense that like
Of vibes, at least. I can.
yeah, vibes, yeah, and I really like safe as like a really good word to me. It's like
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot
it
of
sounds
the
really
Fire
comforting.
Tools, scratch
No,
and
there's
bite.
like no aggression.
Yeah.
There's no aggression at all. It's all like just kind of chimey synths, and it sounds like it could have been produced in the late 80s or early 90s, maybe most of the time, maybe not all the time. It's a very like nostalgic thing for me, I guess.
I just think it's
Very
super.
safe place.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I love when people do those like yin yang type projects of like it's very much the same thing, but it's not. And like you are making these specific differences that like it was just a little hard for me to. I was like, well, what's the? I mean, it's basically like this could fit in any Fire-Toolz album, is what I was thinking. Like,
Well, that's
yeah,
that's the thing. There's a few non-local forecast songs that were supposed to be Fire-Toolz songs, but then I decided to use it for the other project, and I just didn't put any of the harsh vocals there, none of the noisy parts, none of the industrial elements, no metal beyond the guitar
you
leads,
just
I
kind of
guess.
stopped, or did you kind of like soften it up a little bit even more, or we're just like,
Like
we'll just put it there.
the first two songs on the latest non-local forecast album started as Fire-Toolz songs, and they did have some harsher elements in them, but then I just removed them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's what Calvin was getting at. Like, is this basically Fire-Toolz B-sides in a sense?
It's not really Fire-Toolz B-sides. It's like an aspect of Fire-Toolz' personality, like isolated,
Interesting.
I would say.
It's like an extract from Fire-Toolz.
It's an extract and then it's expanded upon.
I gotta love I love the art for it. It fits perfectly with like the in-depth prog coming at you vibes and stuff.
Yeah, all the non-local forecast art so far has been made by Max Allison, who helps run Housey Mountain, which is the label that Fire-Toolz is usually releasing on, and non-local forecast.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Anyone you're listening to right now that you want to talk about or give a shout out? Any new artists you found or anything like that?
I mean, my full-time job is audio-centric, so I've been working so much with audio that when I'm not working, I feel like I don't listen to as much music as I want to be. And I spend a lot of time listening to like educational YouTube, like in psychology or spirituality or religious history or like all kinds of stuff like that. But the music that I mostly listen to is like 80s fusion and new age music. I don't listen to a lot of new artists, which is I'm kind of bummed about that because I feel like there's so much good stuff coming out that I should be supporting, but that's just like what I'm drawn to. I am mixing an artist right now, mixing her album. She goes by Lipsticism. She's from Chicago, and it's some of the most gorgeous music I've ever heard. It's electronic, very ambient. A lot of it's beat oriented, although not all of it is. Her voice is just like so dreamy and perfect, and the lyrics are so good, and I can't wait until the album is done. It's been such a pleasure working on it. So yeah, hopefully in the future that album will reach people's ears and really impress them.
Fuck yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
But I'm very much the same way. I find it really hard to dive into new artists today. Like you're honestly like still a new artist in my book of like recent people I found is like
Mm-hmm.
Mindspring and Fire-Toolz, because it's just like it's just hard. I don't want to say snob. It's hard for me to like connect to things anymore. Like I feel like I've heard so many
Mm.
different things, and I'm definitely jaded at this point, but anything that has like good art attached to it definitely will help
Mm.
me enjoy the music by itself a lot more. Like I need a visual, like fucking need a visual. So, yeah.
Yeah, my art is really important to me. The art that's associated with my work is I really need it to be um, exactly how I want it to be, which is reflective of what I'm trying to say. And that kind of makes things complicated sometimes because I get really picky with the visual artists I'm working with. But as far as Fire-Toolz is concerned, I've been mostly happy with all the art that has been put out that's associated with my work, I would say.
I love the ball thing you got going on. Like that I love
Hmm.
themes. Like anything that's like reoccurring, I'm like
Yeah, that's a Prague thing.
yeah. I'm just like there's the ball again. Like
Yep.
you gotta start doing like that Aphex Twin thing. Like when Styro came out, I started
Hmm.
seeing tagged Aphex Twin logos
Hmm.
everywhere. Like you would see it on like manholes in New York, you would see it in
Hmm.
Philly. It was just like, why is Aphex Twin everywhere again? And then boom,
Yeah.
Styro came out.
Well, the cool thing about the red sphere is that it is kind of everywhere because there's just you see them around for whatever reason. Kids have them in their backyards. You go to Target, you see them in the parking lot. Um, Rush had an album called "Hold Your Fire," in which red spheres was like a theme, and it's in a lot of like 3D CGI art. Like spheres are a big part of that kind of art. And a lot of times they're red. So it's just it's already everywhere. And I have a story highlight on my Instagram where anytime I like see one around in passing, I'll like take a picture or a video and post it.
That's fucking, but that's like brilliant though at the same time of like, oh, I'm gonna make like, it's better than like being like, oh, my thing is a tree. Every time you see a tree. No, it's like this super like specific item, but you do see it everywhere. Like,
Hmm.
and it's not like on your covers like red ball, red ball. I'm red ball. It's very subtle. It's just like
Yeah,
off
I
in the
don't.
background.
Yeah, exactly. In my next album, it's going to be on the front cover, but it's basically like hidden behind a bunch of like shrubbery and stuff, and you can only really see half of it.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like it's not on the home cover, or is it? Like as I look fucking
On
closer.
Eternal Home?
Yeah.
No, it's on Eternal Home. It's but I interchange it with a soccer ball that's like red and black.
Yeah, I
The
see
red
that on the
sphere and
instrumental version.
yeah, but it's
Oh.
it's on there. It's just kind of hidden. It's like floating in the water, like kind of subtly.
Because I'm just
Like
noticing that it's this, like the instrumentals is all that cool shit gone. Like I've been
yeah,
staring at the covers like the whole time. And I'm just like, wait,
yep,
that's,
yeah, it's in there. And yeah,
I
I
love
just
that.
kind of go back and forth. The soccer ball was also on Skinless X1 cover, but on Rainbow Bridge, it was just the red sphere.
Yeah.
And on my next one, it's just a red sphere as well.
And I Can't Die kind of makes it look like a Christmas ornament. Or it's more,
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does, yeah.
yeah, even though it's just like your profile picture orb thing, like the red and black.
Yeah, exactly. And then I actually have a short EP coming out soon.
Ooh.
That's a follow up to I Can't Die. And
Is it, wait a minute.
it's called I Can't Die as well.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And I am pretty sure the red sphere is absent on that one now that I think about it, but I'm going with the fire hydrant theme for that one. So I'm starting to feel like the red fire hydrant is starting to it might become more of a theme in the future. And that's funny because that's also straight from a Rush album cover as well, on their album Signals,
That's right.
which came out 2 albums before Hold Your Fire, which had the red spheres. I really like red. I like bright, annoying fire engine red, like artificial, hyper realistic.
It's very much the
red.
highlight of everything Fire-Toolz. Like, very cool designs you got going on. Like, super memorable everything. Like, I love the fact that it's like a rainbow version of like a death metal band's. Like,
Yeah.
like that's so.
Yeah, I love death metal and I love rainbows, so why not put them together? And it's not
so
ironic either. I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm like really serious about it.
It couldn't fucking fit it like more perfectly is what I'm saying. Like it's just so damn like I'm just so like you're such a satisfying artist because you know exactly what you are at the same time. Like and then you lean into that and it's just like yes. It's just great.
I think I know what I am because I don't second guess it. I think that's part of it. And I think that more people could know who they are by just going off their intuition, not trying to do anything specific, not going, this sounds cool, but I don't know if people are going to like it, or I don't know if this really fits my genre, or whatever it is. Just like do whatever you want with zero compromise. If you are an R&B artist and you wake up one day and you'll be like, it'd be cool if the song had like screaming on it, and then you're like, no, but that would be dumb because I make R&B. Like, no, throw that thought away. Like, do the thing that you thought of. Like, there's no rule that says you can't, or maybe there are rules, but like, I don't know, fuck those.
Break them. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice. I think we should end the podcast on right there because that's perfect.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much for coming on. Is there anything other than that new EP? When can we expect that new EP?
I think it's gonna come out in April, and it's on a label called Big Money Cyber Grind, which is such a cool name. Yeah, it's a really cool niche label that puts out a lot of really interesting stuff. A lot of it's like fairly aggressive, but not all of it. There's also going to be a Magic the Gathering card that will come with it that I designed with the person who runs the label. I don't know shit about Magic the Gathering. He had to tell me like what it was supposed to have on it and everything. I wish I did.
I don't
it
know
sounds
either.
like a super badass game.
Yeah, my buddy's really fucking into it, and I've been like meaning to get into it. Like, it's just I want to get into it. I feel like it's a little too late at the same time, but fuck it, I'm still trying anyway.
Yeah, well, make sure you get my card so you can use it.
Oh, 100%. I was about to say, like, are you like you're big enough at this point that you could contact Magic and be like, "Can we make this official?" Like,
oh, I don't think I have that kind of pull yet.
I don't know. Maybe.
But we'll see. It would be cool. I would love to do that. I would have to like probably learn how to play first, or else I would feel like a poser.
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna hear this podcast, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's okay. Most podcasts I'm on, nobody hears.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your day and shooting the shit with me about Death Cab and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.